Okay, I hope everyone's out there. It just turned 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call vote. Trustee Case. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, my mic was just not behaving.
Okay.
I'm here and I'm at the hall.
Rhonda Collins.
I'm here at my home in Grand Junction.
Gary Gruss.
I'm logged in at a remote location, Van Buren County, Columbia Township.
And Bev Shear, I believe she's absent tonight. And this is Ken Speicher. I'm present at the Township Hall. Agenda for tonight. The agenda is been there. I believe the board members have all reviewed it. Is there any additions or subtraction that we want to make to the agenda? Discussion? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved by Gary.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote. Christie?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Bev is absent. Ken is yes. Public comment on the agenda items. We hold 2 public meetings during our meeting. This public comment allows the comments prior to any decision on the matters in the agenda tonight. Other comments can also be made, but the focus is to hear any objections to or insight to matters before us before we make a final decision tonight. So with that, Christy, could you open up the mics?
Yes, certainly. It looks like Karen has her hand raised. Go ahead, Karen.
Yes, thank you. In reviewing the agenda packet earlier today, apparently there was an item that was added in the last couple hours. So that's the only thing I have comment on right now. The ARPA discussion. I have spoken with Steve Shults before regarding our underserved area for internet access. And I know it's needed, but I'm generally resistant to government picking winners and losers within the private sector. So I'm just noticing that I don't see that there's any discussion about any other entities, and maybe you guys will explain that. What guarantees can Bloomingdale Communications make that any of this money is spent directly for Columbia Township? I've heard a lot of people complain about internet and phone service by Frontier, and that many customers either feel they're locked in or actually are locked into them. So I would like, hopefully Steve can talk about how Township citizens or Bloomingdale Communications can document that we're underserved by Frontier for anybody that might have to switch. And because none of this was available before, I also didn't get a chance to ask. The clerk has in this packet a purchase of 15 iPads, which at this point, I don't know what those are for. I imagine that'll come up in the discussion. But if we need those iPads, are there any other things before we would turn over any of the funds to Bloomingdale? The only other thing is I had been of the impression that we were interested in pursuing Starlink for an internet provider. So again, I guess it kind of comes back to, I have nothing against Bloomingdale Communications. I just wonder how we would know that that's where these funds should go. So I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Okay, anyone else? Let's see if I have any chats. Okay, if you happen to be watching on YouTube, you can enter a chat, and that can be made as a public comment. Or you can email clerk@columbiatwp.com. And as of right now, I'm not seeing any activity in the chat groups or any other people interested in speaking. Ken, you're still muted. You need to unmute.
A ghost in my office. Line item F, consent agenda. We have the immediate meetings from the previous two meetings. We have the FIA coordinator change. We have expenditures, that's invoices, waiting for approval, paid expenditures and payroll report, and the treasury's report. Do we have any discussion? Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Gary will move to support it.
Do I have a second?
I'll support it.
Is that Christie?
Yes.
Roll call vote. Christie?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Bev is absent. And Ken is yes. Is there anyone out there that has turned in a report that would like to make a comment to the report at this time? I think Dave is the only one that we have on. I don't see any hands raised, so we're going to move on to unfinished business.
I do think that, Gary, did you have a brief report you wanted to provide, or are you going to provide it at the end?
No, I do have just a brief oral report, and I was waiting. I thought maybe Dave was going to add something, but if that's not the case, I'd be happy just to report that I did check with Breedsville Cemetery and looked at the flagpoles that were there, and I'm going to need a little bit of refreshing here. I'm not sure which flagpole that we are responsible for. It's either the east one or the west one, obviously, because there are only two there in two different locations. Both of them could use some attention. One needs a little bit more attention than the other. But if maybe somebody could enlighten me of which one is ours to maintain, that would help me make a more determination and a cost factor and that sort of thing.
We are responsible for the west one.
The west one. I was hoping that was the case because that's the one that needs less maintenance, and it is built pretty much the same as the one by the Township Hall. So, okay, I appreciate that. And that's the only trustee comment that I do have. Thank you.
Thank you for looking into that.
Anyone else? Moving on to unfinished business, sale of township-owned land. Christie, would you like to discuss what we have proposed here?
Yeah, let me go ahead and pull up the website that we're talking about. So it's password protected now. It will not always be password protected. Once we launch fully, then everybody will be able to see it just fine. So ultimately the goal is to advertise the website. On the website, the process would be that if somebody was interested in coming in here to bid, they would come in and select the bidder registration link first. All the instructions are right here on the screen. That will send an email in which I will be able to, which I will be able to provide them with a bidder number. So once they have their bidder number, then they can go in and bid. That way it keeps the confidentiality of the bidders while they're providing the bids throughout this process. Bids would need to be provided by August 11th at 8 p.m. Anything received after 8 p.m. would not be considered. So we're not going to extend it or anything if there's, a lot of activity at 8 o'clock. It's at 8 o'clock, it's done. The terms and conditions are here. There will be something at the end of the whole process where they will have to agree to the terms and conditions of sale. I do have a note on here, and Ken and I I don't know that we discussed this, of having the township file the quitclaim deeds, but charging the people the $30 filing fee. So that is on the website right now. That can be removed if we choose to not do it that way. So basically, they would come to this site and they could find whatever lot they're looking for that they want to bid on. After they have their bidder number, they can come here. I put a link to the county's mapping systems so that they can find the parcels if they need to. A minimum starting bid. I set all the minimum starting bids at $250 per lot. If we want to change that, that can happen as well. Then there is a link to allow them to see what the current bid is. So if you go to that link, there are no bids in here right now, so you can't see it. But I'm sorry, that's the wrong link. That's the registration link. Here we go. Current bid link. There we go. So they can come in here. I did actually put this one in as a test. So I said, I'm bidder number 1 and I bid $1,000. And so it'll show up and they'll see what the most recent bid is. You see it's only in view. It's view only. They can't edit that. Come on. So they'll put in their bidder number, they'll enter their bid and they click submit, and then they can continue to check back on the spreadsheet. All the instructions are right here. There are also folks that will get a special letter from us. These are adjacent property owners that will be bidding against 1 or 2 people only. They will have a password to be able to access their parcels. When they click on this, it asks for a password. So they will receive a password that allows them to access that bidding sheet, since there are only 2 or 3 people that will be allowed to bid on those properties. The reason for that is so that they can become buildable properties. If we were to sell these without selling them to adjacent property owners, they would not be buildable properties. Any questions? Okay. And then of course,
Christy?
yeah.
Yes, I figured it out. Hey, this is Dave. I'm sorry to interrupt right now. Continue on with what you were talking about, but I finally got myself unmuted, and I know there may have been some questions regarding that fire on 215 and 388.
All right, we'll come back. We'll let you know, Dave, if we need to talk about that further. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yep.
All right, so we have 2 potential motions here. One to go ahead and move forward with this online sale, and the other one is for advertisement. We'd like to have a budget of $200 to advertise in both the Reminder and on Facebook, so that we can get some more interest. In addition, you'll notice in the packet, I put a sample letter that we can send to, that we'll send to the adjacent property owners. So this kind of gives you an idea. I don't know why that formatting pulled in here weird. That's not the way it is, but so it'll look something like this that will be mailed to the adjacent property owners. And I do want to say Ken put in the majority of the work in finding the properties that we're currently listing, provided all the data and information. I've just been putting it online and trying to get all of the technology in place for us to be able to do this.
Is there any discussion by board members? I'd like to say that Christie's worked real hard at getting this website taken care of and putting the package together, and we come a long ways in a short period of time. So it's well appreciated. Anyone else? Okay, we have two motions before us. We'll do them one at a time. Can I get a motion to start online sale of township owned properties starting on July 23rd, 2021 with an end time of August 11th, 2021 at 8 p.m.?
I'll move to approve that.
Can I have a second?
I'll go ahead and support.
Second.
I'll take Rhonda's.
Okay, Rhonda, roll call vote. Christie,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes,
Beverly's absent, and Ken is yes. The second motion. Can I have a motion to approve a budget of $200 for advertising in the reminder and in Facebook?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'm sorry, but my internet was not current. I didn't hear the motion.
It's
Can I have a motion to approve a budget for $200 for advertisement in the reminder and on Facebook? I got the
Aye.
motion by Christie, and I'm waiting for a second.
I'll second that.
Roll call vote. Christie,
yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes,
Beverly's absent, and Ken is a yes. New business, item I1. It's ARPA discussion. We have Steve Shults from Bloomingdale Communications here to discuss with the board on the expansion of broadband internet in the township and how the township board can help with the expansion. Steve, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ken. So really quickly, first of all, thanks to Karen for her questions. I'm going to try and answer those as I talk, but I'd appreciate any sort of follow-up or anything else that that you can bring to this. Christie, can you click on the footprint screenshot map? Boy, that is hard to say. Footprint screenshot map. Okay. So really quick, a couple of quick things on this, just to kind of point it out. The colors that are kind of pink or purplish, or however you want to say it, are areas where we've already built fiber to the home. So Bloomingdale Communications built fiber to the home in the Pawpaw areas, in the Madawan area, and also in the village of Pawpaw in previous years. Thank you. That's perfect. And in 2018, in the fall of 2018, we started the Bloomingdale project, the fiber to the home, and that actually got completed kind of late winter, early spring of this year. We're still doing a few conversions of fiber to the home from our old DSL platform, but at this point, pretty soon, in the next couple of weeks, we should be 100% fiber to the home in the Bloomingdale area. So the next colors that you see are green, and the green areas are part of what we call our USDA Rural Utility Services Reconnect Round 1. And the blue areas are what we consider our USDA Rural Utility Services Reconnect Round 2. So you can see that they're kind of some disparate areas. They don't necessarily touch each other, but they're areas that have been identified during the years that we did applications. So the green areas 2019 as very underserved or unserved according to the FCC's definitions. My guess is that all of those areas are still considered unserved or underserved. And so part of the thing for us was that this is a project that allows us really, for the most part, to branch off of our existing footprint and continue to build fiber to the home to rural customers here in Van Buren and Allegan counties. So at this point, the green areas are almost all fully engineered. We have some areas to the right-hand side of this map that are fully engineered. The Mill Lake area is actually being worked right now. And then the other two areas to the north and to the south along M40 are, I'm going to say, shovel ready. The plans and specs went into Washington, D.C. about a month ago. And at that point, then the folks in Washington, D.C. say, well, where are you at in terms of budget? And it's like, we're way over budget. And I can give you a bunch of reasons that are technical, and I can talk about all that sort of stuff. But I will also tell you that in today's moment, pricing, materials and materials availability are crazy. And so Bloomingdale finds itself in a situation where we have the project is really pretty much getting basically the whole project is getting close to being shovel ready. And here we are with a budget shortfall. And so one of the things is we're also in this moment where we find both the municipalities, the townships particularly, and the counties have these ARPA funds available. And I'm not going to bore you, but for the most part, there are 5 kind of identified uses available for ARPA funds. So, and I'll just rattle them off. Again, if there's questions, please hit me with it. But number 1, water project. Number 2, sewer project. Number 3, broadband expansion. Number 4, to make up for lost revenues that the municipality may have experienced, lost tax revenues primarily that the municipality may have experienced. And the last one, excuse me, it is to help businesses and individuals who may have been negatively impacted by COVID. So it is one of these situations where the municipalities do have funds available for broadband expansion, and yet at the same time, we have projects that are really getting close to being shovel ready, and the Saddle Lake area project that I didn't exactly touch on that one, but the Saddle Lake area is also close to shovel ready in terms of the engineering is very close to being finalized. So at the same time, again, the other thing that I'll just make sure that I caution everybody when I'm talking about this is we're experiencing the kinds of, so my plant manager has 40 years worth of engineering and construction and plant management experience. he's never seen anything like this. We put in an order a couple of weeks ago for the electronics that go on the side of people's homes. And it came back with an expected delivery date of June 30th of 2022. And I'm here to tell you that the only positive that I got out of that was it wasn't a whole year. It's like, well, it feels like a year. No, 50 weeks. It's only 50 weeks, so it's not a whole year. But at the same time, just kind of going back to Karen's comment about winners and losers and everything else. If I took the two areas that are to the left in green, that are both situated in Columbia Township, and I got a number here. It has approximately 533 locations that can be served by them. And that doesn't include the areas in the Bloomingdale project, the areas in Columbia Township that were served by the Bloomingdale project. So I get that this isn't a complete solution for Columbia Township, but I also will just say that, when you start talking about being able to serve that number of locations or homes, or however you want to quantify that, it does a significant piece of work. And as part of the discussion that I had with Ken and Christie, to kind of basically talk through the ARPA funds and Bloomingdale's expression of interest for the ARPA funds, Bloomingdale is also looking at kind of some expansion, again, along a couple of areas that would include Phoenix and a couple of the county roads, just so that we're better able to provide service and coverage in a bunch of the Columbia Township area. Now, obviously, that would fall in after the project gets off the ground and it really starts to get going. But I don't see any reason why that we can't do those things kind of in conjunction with each other at a certain point. Again, keeping in mind that in this moment, I don't know how we get all the materials for it, but it's the same with lumber. It's the same with other stuff. It's like one moment there's nothing available, and the next minute those things magically start to appear, and they're back at the stores or whatever else. So again, kind of the ask that Bloomingdale has is that Columbia Township consider our request for funds from the township that we would use for to kind of supplement the budget shortfalls that we have in our USDA Rural Utility Services Reconnect Round 1 project. And the one thing that I'll just talk about kind of briefly is, and again, this is a government project. It's subject to a high level of scrutiny. The bid process is very formalized. The approval processes are very formalized. The draw processes are very formalized. I've had on the Bloomingdale project itself, I've had auditors in here 3 times in the last 2.5 years. So it is one of those things where it requires a high level of scrutiny, and it experiences high level of scrutiny. And what I would tell the Columbia Township Board is that it's my intention that any funds that we get for ARPA from the townships or the counties that are related to ARPA funds be subject to that same amount of scrutiny, the same high level of reporting. We're going to tell you what we did with them. We're going to make sure that you have, especially in the work that's done in your areas, that you have a high level of visibility and accountability for that. So hopefully that all makes sense. Like I said, I'm certainly, I would, again, I just kind of thank Karen for her questions because I appreciate that. I would just say that unfortunately, this is all happening this ARPA stuff is all happening very fast. The project itself, we're under a time constraint, if anything, because every day that goes by is another sunny day that goes by that work could be getting done. So, we did work all winter last winter on the Bloomingdale project. There were basically 5 days where guys weren't able to work, 3 days because it wasn't safe to be on the side of the road, 2 days because it was too cold. At the same time, I'll also tell you that we all know that we could have a terrible winter this winter, we could have a terrible winter the winter after that. And there's no ability for me to guarantee when things are going to get done. When I start talking about, well, they could work through the winter. The crews that we've been using, and again, it's a competitive bid process, but the crews that we've been using like to keep their guys working through the winter so they don't have to have guys on layoff, because of course, if they put guys on layoff, they don't know if they're coming back to work. But again, kind of, we've done 4 large projects in the last 15 years. We've always come in under budget. We've always come in ahead of schedule. We find ourselves in this moment where we're very humbled. I personally am very humbled. I come to you not with a demand for funds, but with a request for collaboration and also an understanding that if we're able to get this help and get these projects off the ground, we're 100% going to do it. We're 100% going to bring fiber to the home to these areas in Columbia Township and basically about 8 other townships surrounding us, and in both Allegan and Van Buren counties. So I don't know if anybody's got kind of any additional questions. I'm happy to answer any questions either as part of this or afterwards, in some other setting. That's what I do all day, every day. So.
Thanks, Steve. I did want to address, I think, a couple other things that Karen brought up. One is that the reason why there are not other things being presented to the board for options for ARPA is because no one else has come requesting the funds. And part of the reason why this is kind of a last minute thing is we've known ARPA is coming, but we didn't know what the process was going to be until about a week ago, week and a half ago.
Yeah, right. A week ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And to top it all off, the state has said that they would like all of the applications to be in by the 27th of this month. So we have 2 weeks to decide if we want to take these funds or not. And so that's why this is kind of a last minute scramble. And Steve had actually come and met with Ken and I a little over 2 weeks ago, just before I went on vacation, to just kind of discuss what the options potentially were. And at that time, we didn't know what the ARPA situation was going to be. So it is a little bit of a last minute thing, but Bloomingdale Communications is the only company that has come forward with a plan already in place and asking for those funds. Of which he's right, we can only use them on so much.
Steve, this is Gary. I was one of the people that took a tour with you, or you were very informative and very, very helpful around the Saddle Lake area and the island people at that time. I guess my question is, and I'm going to use some round figures, the amount that's shown on here is roughly $250,000 of these ARPA funds.
Right.
I guess I'm a little bit confused on if that is a funding method that comes from the state that will come directly to the township, and then those funds are directed to you for your business that you have to take care of. And if those funds then are in form of a grant or a loan, or if they have to be paid back, or what the time frame on that would be. And I just have a lot of questions about it, and I don't think this is the time or the place actually to discuss all that. But those are some of my concerns. And I understand there's a time frame on this. I think Christy just mentioned the 27th of this month. If that's the case, then maybe we should schedule a special meeting and have you attend and iron out this a little bit more in detail, so I'm a little bit more informed and comfortable with making a decision.
So actually the ARPA grant, it's a grant, and there are several trainings available from the state if any of the board members want to go to them. You should probably have them in your emails. They're trying to push the information out as fast as they can. The amount of funds that is indicated is the amount that the state has determined through their formula that was provided by the federal government to distribute to the NEUs, which we are an NEU, so that it will come directly to us. We have an annual, because we are an NEU, we have an annual reporting requirement. Our first report will have to happen in October. We have to say how we're spending those funds. We do not have to pay the funds back as long as we use them appropriately.
Right.
If we do not use them the way that they have been designated to be used, then we do have to send that money back. So we do have to report on that. All the terms and conditions are in our packets. I realized that you guys got that pretty last minute because it was kind of throwing things together. But it's all there. I had already started going through some of the processes that were required from the township's side to prepare for the ARPA funds, because the state was at least trying to send out some general information. Like we had to have a DUNS number and a SAM.gov account and a Sigma account and an Elite account. And, you know, they couldn't make it more complicated. So we are all set up with everything that we need right now in order to apply for and receive the funds. The only thing we have to do is complete the application process, which all of the application documents are in the packet as well. That includes the terms and conditions, the Title VI assurances, and the form, the 5751, CLFRF, and NEU 729433.
So
Well, thanks.
Gary, one of the things I would just talk about really briefly, Chrissy, is it okay if I speak? I don't want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a fairly substantial, and I'm holding it up here, it's 42-page frequently asked questions that that was put out. It's basically from U.S. Treasury, but it's on the state's website for the ARPA funds, and it really goes into a lot of the detail with the questions that you asked about, is it a loan, is it a grant, and a lot of those things. It does sound like Christie's fairly up with this. I'm with her. All of a sudden, the forms hit the state kind of middle of last week, and the next thing you know, the state comes back with this deadline of the 27th of July. And it's like, what the heck? I mean, that's no time for anybody to contemplate something. However, and I'm just saying, we don't need the funds right now. I'd like a commitment from the township, but we don't need the funds right now. I want to make sure that that's perfectly clear. It's like, I'm not asking for all of this to happen immediately. You know, from my perspective, I don't need those kind of funds until, you know, the project actually gets going. And like I was suggesting, you know, I'm more than willing to provide a high level of scrutiny and transparency to any of this. So, and I certainly understand your concerns about the process being pretty rushed. And like I said, you know, I was trying to, as I was responding to Karen's concern, you know, I clearly understand that. I probably, after I talked to Ken and Christy, I probably should have done this formal request, and then you guys could have done your homework a lot sooner. And I apologize for that, because that's clearly, it's one of these things where things are happening pretty fast, and I got caught off guard with the state's timing and time frame as well.
I have a
Well,
question.
I understand that, Steve, and like I said, when you were giving the information before with our tour, you were most helpful and upfront with us, so I appreciate that. My only concern is, and a lot of the times when you have grant money, that sometimes it has to be partially funded, or there's other regulations that have to be followed. And you, as well as I know, that anything the government starts can change in a heartbeat and catch us all off guard. And I'm sure that's what exactly happened with you. So there, I'm not holding you in blame or anything, because I know that there's things that you can control and there's things you cannot control. I'm just not comfortable. And you said you don't need the funds, and an application would be to apply for the funds. I guess if the funds are not given to us, then we have to go down another avenue. But if they, for some reason, are, and we don't need them until a specific time frame, I guess I don't have a problem with that, other than if it's something we don't need, that we're not obligated to take the funds.
So, couple of things. First of all, there will not be any matching funds required for this grant. Second of all, what we need to decide tonight is just simply if we're going to apply for them or not. We do not have to decide tonight how we're going to use those funds.
Right.
So we could wait another month on, how we're going to use them. Third, we will receive the funds. If we decide after we receive the funds that we're not going to use them, we can send them back.
Right.
Okay, I have a question. These funds, if we were to give them to you, is those funds going to be used just in Columbia Township, or are they going to be used throughout the county?
Well, certainly, that the 200, I'm trying to catch my number. It's like $240,000. We'd use every penny of that just in Columbia Township. I mean, yeah, we again, part of the process for me is going to about 8 townships, requesting kind of a similar amount of funds from these 8 townships. I also going to the counties and requesting funds from there as well. So just for example, in Allegan County, we requested funds from Cheshire Township already, and have been granted those funds, approved for funds. And we've also requested funds from the county as well. And that's, they had a June 30th deadline for their time to submit a request for funds. And that, so we met that June 30th deadline. They've got a vetting process, due diligence process that they're going through now before they decide, who they'll award the funds to. Their amount of funding for ARPA, and I'm going to use rough numbers, was 23 million. So again, for us, part of what we're doing is going to a bunch of the townships, asking for a modest, $200,000 to $250,000 from a bunch of the different townships, and for sure. I'm sorry, Rhonda, going back all the way back to your question. For sure, we're going to be able to spend that locally, because your project is going to cost $240,000 and then some in the Columbia Township. Does that make sense? I hope that I answered your question.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, and I know Steve knows this, we have to provide our own reports on how those funds are spent in our township. So Steve and I will be working closely to make sure that I can complete my reporting appropriately.
Right.
Steve, the only other question I have is, I think you mentioned June 30th deadline. You meant with Allegan County?
That was for Allegan County. So they had their own deadline. Van Buren County currently doesn't have a process of an application process in place, and they don't have a deadline, as best I know. So, but we'll be applying for funds from the counties as well.
So what you just said, if I understand it correctly, Van Buren County, or Columbia Township, I should say, does not have a expiration date, only a date to apply for the funds per application?
Yes, so what Steve is referring to is their own internal processes for how they're approving their bids.
Right.
We only have one request, so we don't have, a bunch of people to try to decide how we're spending our funds, whereas the counties, because they have a large sum of money, are getting multiple requests to be able to spend their funds, and they're trying to figure that out.
Right.
So we have a deadline as to when we're going to apply for the funds. That is correct. But there is not a deadline on when we have to spend them, as far as I could tell as of yet.
Well, I think the deadline for spending is kind of 3 years out.
Yeah, it's years at least. Yeah.
But from my, just to be clear on the timeframes on this, from my perspective, if we get the funding squared away for our project, the two areas to the right will be, there's a bid that's ready to go to the contractors right now. The 3 areas to the left, which is actually 4, but they're all kind of together. That'll go out late fall for spring 2022 start date. So and just to give people a sense of how this thing could work, and my perspective is that the Saddle Lake area would be the first part of the any project that we would start. On the stuff to the left is the Mill Lake area is a part that we're doing right now. We started it just after Memorial Day, and we're hoping to have it completed by Labor Day. So kind of June, July, August, 3-month time frame. I'd hope to have that same sort of a thing with the Saddle Lake area as well. And of course, then there's kind of some other areas that are going to need to get done, including that area around upper and lower Jephthah and those areas. Yeah.
I don't have an issue with applying for it, or an okay to apply for it. And then possibly next month or later, we can decide how to spend it, or maybe. And as far as any special references for Saddle Lake, I would not anticipate or expect that at all. I would like to have everybody treated equally in the imposition of this.
Steve, if we were to wait to provide you with the official approval of funds until next month, does that put you in any type of bad position?
No, but it's just, again, from my perspective, every day that goes by is another sunny day that work could be getting done. So, but at the same time, one of the things is I have to understand that everybody's got their process and everybody's got their, you all have your due diligence and your process that you need to go through. So I clearly understand that. Again, probably if I had my druthers, I would have just submitted this letter a couple of 3 weeks ago, had it in your hands, so that you could have maybe already done that due diligence process. So.
And, just being completely transparent, there's not a lot that we can spend these funds on. So it's not like we have a lot of things bargaining for those funds. We do have a couple of items that might dwindle that amount just a little, because we did spend a little bit in some medical responses during COVID that we can use some of these to reimburse for. And we may have some technology type things that prepare people for pandemic type situation. So just small amounts. It wouldn't be a large amount of that fund, but a little bit that we might spend elsewhere. So I guess any other questions about ARPA or Steve's request?
No, I would just like to have some time to read over all the material. And I, then make a decision next month. We should go ahead and apply for the funds, of course.
Hey, Christie, if we apply for the funds, do we have to designate the area that the money would be used at this time?
No,
We can apply for all the funds, everything that's allowed to us without telling them it's going to be for broadband, IT equipment.
there is no place on the application to state what you're using it for.
At this point in time.
Correct.
So you would be suggesting that we apply to get all the money that we're allotted.
Yes.
Does anyone else have any comments about why we should not do that? Go ahead and apply for all the money we can get. Gary, Rhonda?
No, I made my comments and I don't have I'm okay with applying for it. It's just that where the money is spent and how it's spent. Sometimes that, just like Christy had mentioned, some of this is COVID related things. So that money possibly is going to have to be paid back, or whatever the state or the government decides is related to. And of course, Steve has no control over that. But other than that, I'm fine with it.
Okay, Steve, I want to thank you for coming. I think we're done with you. I think the board kind of got an idea where we want to go with this. So I think any other board member, final discussion? Otherwise, I'm going to move on requesting a motion to approve applying to the ARPA and EU funds.
I just want to say thanks to Steve again. I know he's been working really hard to get service into our township and the areas around here that are underserved. And I really appreciate all the work that Bloomingdale Communications is putting in.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve applying for the ARPA and EU funds?
I'll support it.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote. Christie?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Beverly's absent. And Ken, yes. Oh, that was very good discussion. I too, East Township Cemetery. We had 3 posts at the end of the cemetery on the east side for the driveway, and one of them got knocked over by a vehicle and traffic ran over a grave site. And what we want to do is put those poles back up. They've been in there for a long time, probably about 40 years. And we want to go with like schedule 80 plastic pipe and fill it full of concrete, 3-inch in diameter. And what I'm looking for, there'd be 5 of them this time, with not just the 3. We'll put one out on the curve to prevent them to going into the graves on the other side at the same time that we do this. So we're going to be adding 2 more posts. And so I'm asking if I get a motion to approve installing 5 driveway markers at a cost not to exceed $250. I'll get the label done through our people that are helping us out here with volunteer work, and we'll fill them full of concrete.
Well, Ken, the only comment I have is in the packet here. There's 2 different types of descriptions that are in here, and I didn't know if that was PVC pipe or not. When I went through the cemeteries and checked out the existing ones and the damage that are on there, you've got two different schedules in here. Either a 4-inch pipe, I'm guessing that's diameter, or a 3-inch pipe. So which one which one of these is going to be used, or do you know?
Well,
Or is
well,
it-
Gary,
or-
Gary, the issue there, and the reason I did that, I went into Menards to get my cost. They didn't have any 3-inch pipe. I'd rather do 3-inch pipe than 4-inch pipe. I'm leading to the 3-inch pipe, but they got to have it for me to buy it to put it in.
Okay, I just didn't know what the
I,
logic.
yeah. I plan on going with a 3-inch, and if I can't get it, I'm going to have to jump up to the 4-inch. And I don't know why I can't get it. I can probably go somewhere else to get it, but I was at.
Maybe.
I just did the 2 instrument because I went in there. They didn't have any 3-inch.
That seems to be a pretty common issue with materials lately, so who knows?
I went in to get some conduit today, and they only had was one piece of 1/2-inch conduit, 10 foot long, and the next piece that they had was 2-inch conduit.
Yeah.
All the other stuff is gone. 1.5, 1.25, 1 3/4, all gone.
Mhm.
Did you say Schedule 80, or did I misunderstand that? Was this Schedule 40 pipe?
I'm going to get 40 pipe, or if they got 80, I'd rather go with the heavier one. This is estimated at 40,
Okay,
but it's not going to exceed $250 one way or the other. I can guarantee that.
you need a motion?
Well, I need a motion to approve installing 5 driveway markers at a cost not to exceed $250.
So moved. If there's no other discussion.
Anyone else got anything to say? I got a motion. Do I have a
I'll-
second?
I'll second it.
Is that Christie?
Yes.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Christie, vote. Roll call.
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes,
Beverly's absent. Ken, yes. Our item I3 is security policy. And it's for adoption. And it's to establish the appropriate use and protection of township information assets. To ensure that township information assets are secured from unauthorized access, misuse, or destruction. Everyone have time to read that? Is there any discussion on it?
Yeah, this applies to the credit card acceptance, right?
Yes, that is one of the things that's covered. Mhm.
Okay. My only request is no, credit card numbers should be taken over the phone or on through emails, which I know it says that in there. Because we're offering them 2 more options out of what they already have to make their payments.
if I read that correctly, Rhonda, I believe that it's mentioned in there that it's either done by a swipe, personally coming in, and nothing given over the phone, so nobody can possibly be hacked or whatever you want to, whatever term you want to put on it, violated.
Right.
Personally, I don't know why we wouldn't have this security.
No,
In,
Honestly-
in
yeah.
place.
When I reached out to the attorney to ask them to write it, they were kind of surprised we didn't have a general overarching one to begin with. So now we do, if we approve it tonight.
Any other discussion?
No?
Okay, can I have a motion to approve resolution 2021-15, a resolution to adopt an information security policy?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Rhonda. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
That's Gary's second. I have a motion and a second. Roll call. Christie,
Yes,
Rhonda,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes,
Bev is absent. I said that enough tonight. Ken, yes. Well, it's time for public comment.
I have one question involved regarding the funds for the internet or the fiber. In that particular section, there was also noted that there were some iPads. And so since we're not knowing how to, or what we're going to do to spend this money yet, that doesn't apply. So we don't have to formally discuss that tonight. Is that correct or am I incorrect?
I think because we're going to ask for all the money, that discussion will come down the road, but we probably will need iPads for the planning commission and township board at some point in time if we stay at a viral meeting type atmosphere.
Actually, even if we're not viral, because now that we have everything iCompass and it's all electronic, iCompass highly recommended everybody has their own devices, which makes sense so that you can view the current information while you're sitting at the board table even. So but anyway, that's, again, we can discuss that further maybe next month when we talk some more about how we're going to spend those funds.
That's fine. Thank you.
Public comment?
Go ahead.
Karen's got her arm up.
Just my hand. No,
Oh,
I was
I
really,
saw an arm up there.
I was really pleased with the good discussion on this ARPA. And yeah, anytime something comes really kind of fast, you know, it's kind of like, ooh, pump the brakes here real quick. And the fact it was kind of explained why we're talking just to Bloomingdale, because their company has been, it is in their plans to take on our area. So it just shows he's on top of it. That's why he got there first. So good for him. So anyway, thank you for the good discussion.
All right. And let's see if I have any chats. If you are watching on YouTube, again, you can enter in the chat in YouTube. If you are watching the YouTube stream from our website, you won't see the chat. So you have to open it up in YouTube in order to see the chat. Or you can send an email to clerk@columbiatwp.com. And let's see if we have any chats. No chat so far. Quiet tonight.
Well, I think we can move on. Keep an eye, Christie, see if somebody bumps in, we'll take them then.
Okay.
Board comments. Gary Gruss.
I do have a comment. It's kind of lengthy, so I'll try to run through this as quickly as possible. It's in response to the fire at the intersection, the north intersection of County Road 215 and County Road 388 on May 28th. Upon having a public comment read sent in by Mr. Roger Fleming during the June Township meeting regarding the response of the Columbia Township Fire Department, I felt that it would probably be prudent to research the comment. So during my research, I was able to obtain the following information from Central Dispatch in Papa. The call was received by the caller at 1923 hours, which is 7:23. The caller did state it looked like a chicken coop and it was not near the home. Central Dispatch alerted the Columbia Township Fire Department, engine 2730, a tanker, at 1924 hours or 7:24, 1 minute after the call. Central Dispatch alerted Allegan and Lee Township and South Haven at 1930 hours, which was 7:30 p.m. as an auto assist, which is a um, procedure put in place a number of years ago because of our rural status. Central Dispatch then advised Deputy Sheriff, was advised by Deputy Sheriff at 1932 hours or 7:32 that the fire was too big for him to extinguish with a fire extinguisher. At that point, Central Dispatch sent Lee Township, Allegan, and South Haven at 1932 hours or at 7:32 p.m. They were dispatched. Now, arrival of dispatch units, the number one that was there 12 minutes after the call was the deputy. The second one was South Haven Township, or at 7:39, 7 minutes after the call. And the third was our department with engine 2700, 30. It was on scene at 1940 hours or at 7:40, which was 16 minutes. Now I'm going to expand on that a little bit more. The units advised to stand down or cleared by Central Dispatch was Lee Township, Bangor, and Life EMS. Now Life EMS, and that was at 7:40 p.m. and 7:41 p.m. respectively. Life EMS stood by just for safety purposes for the other units as they were cleaning up and getting information from the homeowner. I should point out that they were there probably about 35 minutes total. And the disposition that I have here is there's always two sides to a story. And I found that the South Haven unit was only 6 miles away on County Road 388, the east side of their territory, already manned and ready when the call came in. I myself drove my POV the distance and found that it took 6 minutes at 60 miles an hour. Now, keep in mind that County Road 380 is new pavement and it's straight. If they were not the first on the scene, I'd kind of question that. According to dispatch log, the Columbia Township Fire Department was on scene only 1 minute after the South Haven tanker was there. Keep in mind that our department personnel had to come from the Lawrence area, get a tanker from Station 2, and get to the fire. Taking 16 minutes from dispatch to the scene in a rural area is pretty darn good. Our roads have lakes and curves that have to be dealt with as well, not a straight shot like South Haven had. We do not have a fire or police station every few blocks like urban communities. Life EMS average response time, if you look at your packet, I put in my report 15 minutes, it's around 14, so I was a minute long. I did not mention the other 3 EMS personnel that were on scene using their own private vehicles that may not even been notified or identified with the Columbia Township by onlookers. We should be thankful for what we have. There are other townships in Van Buren County that have similar departments. Having worked with first responders, fire, police, and EMT personnel for over 40 years, I can attest to work that goes on, so to speak, behind the scenes that the general public and onlookers never even imagine. We should all work together toward a common good. And that's my board comment. Thank you.
Hey, Gary, it sounds like you wrote that. So could you please email it to me, pretty please?
Oh, do I have to? Yes, I will be glad to. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for doing all of that work.
There's always two sides to a story.
Okay, Bev is absent, so we got Treasurer Collins.
Yes. I don't really have a whole lot to say tonight. Just I hope everybody's enjoying their summer.
Okay, thank you, Rhonda. Clerk Trustee Case.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet too. And because it's only 8:10 and we might be done with the board meeting. So thanks everyone for a fantastic board meeting. Really appreciate everybody putting in all the extra effort. And I appreciate you all doing your best to read everything last minute that got sent over on ARPA. And everybody just have a great evening.
Okay, thank you, Christy. Announcements. We're going to have the next Township Board meeting August 20th at 7 p.m. We'll continue to have viral meetings until the County Health Department and County Commissioners downgrade their emergency order on indoor meetings, with their end date right now being December 31st, 2021. However, there has been a rumor of a relaxation of their orders might possibly happen in September, but it's not official at this time. With that, I want to thank everyone. This week before, this month has been going by pretty fast. Lots got done, and everything is going great. We looked at the budget where we're at right now. We're sitting very well, so everything's good. So, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
Second.
I'll
Want
support.
to be okay. Roll call vote. Christie,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Gruss,
Yes.
absent, sure. Speicher, yes. Meeting adjourned at 8:11 p.m. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Good night.
All right.